Welcome back to the final part of our 3-part series on Toriyama Sekien's Night Parade. If you haven't already, go watch the first 2 parts so you don't miss the wonderfully weird monsters from before. For now, stay tuned as we see the first rays of dawn marking the end of the monsters' march. I actually missed one of the monsters from the previous book, Yang, and a rather important one at that. The shiryō, where the ikuryo are the souls of the living, the shiryō are the souls of the dead. These are your more classical ghosts. They are often found around the area where they died and are capable of possessing others, and will sometimes interact with people as normal, only to later vanish. They are also known to attack and try and harm people who may have wronged them or, in some instances, the person who killed them. A place where they contrast from more Western ghosts is that they have a tendency to try and beckon their still living relatives to join them. This is sometimes described as happening out of loneliness by the shiryō or out of desperation. But regardless of the why, there are several stories of family members appearing and trying to take their relatives back with them. Mikoshi-nyūdō are a yokai that take on the guise of monks. By all accounts, when one first comes into contact with the mikoshi-nyūdō, they would never suspect anything out of the ordinary. They appear as bald men in monk robes and appear before lone travelers on the road. Once a person looks at the mikoshi-nyūdō, the monster will elongate its neck upward, making the surprised traveler lift his gaze upward to watch. The higher the person's gaze goes, the longer the monk's neck becomes. Eventually, this will cause the traveler to lose balance and fall over, giving the creature the opportunity to lunge at them and rip out their throat. If you try to run away or ignore the monster, it will become enraged and chase you down, spearing you to death with branches or bamboo. If you try to retain eye contact with the creature, you will die of shock. The only way to defeat it is by fearlessly looking from its head down to its feet, which will cause it to shrink instead of grow, and eventually it will vanish. Shokera are 3-toed demons that lurk on top of rooftops, looking for people who think that they can outsmart the King of Heaven. A Japanese folk belief called koshin holds that inside of the human body are 3 heavenly insects. Every 60 days, these insects leave the body and report the good and evil deeds the person has committed in the last 2 months to the King of the Heavens, who then either punishes or rewards the person. People who know they have been exceptionally awful may try and prevent these insects from leaving their body on the appointed day by staying awake and chanting. The shokera deals out divine punishment by attacking and eating people who are awake doing this. Hyōsube are semi-aquatic yokai that live in underwater caves. These creatures appear to be the size of children with bulbous heads covered in a thick layer of fur. They are considered to be a cousin of the kappa and share several similarities. However, they enjoy eggplants rather than cucumbers and despise horses. Hyōsube are also more dangerous than their kappa cousins, despite also being less likely to be encountered. They have a wide mouth full of sharp teeth that they use to eat fish and attack horses and people. They will destroy entire eggplant patches in an instant and love nothing more than to break into people's homes to cover their bathtubs in a thick layer of oily fur, much like their other cousin, the Yamawaro. However, where a Yamawaro is indifferent about the aftermath of their bathing, a hyōsube will get furious if the bathtub is cleaned and have been known to attack people's livestock if they do. As to why they are given the name hyōsube, it's because wherever they go, they can be heard before they are seen, making a deep guttural laugh that sounds like hyo hyo hyo. If you laugh along with this creature, it is believed that you will get a contagious fever and then die within hours. The wira is a mysterious yokai with the body of a giant ox, but rather than hooves, it has massive claws at the end of its legs. They use these claws to dig up small animals which they eat, but are otherwise considered to be harmless despite their appearance. They live deep in the mountains near temples and shrines and are believed to be related to our next yokai, the otoroshi. These creatures are said to be what happens when a toad reaches a certain age, becoming a muddy brown color if it is a male or a red color if it is a female. The otoroshi is a fearsome-looking yokai that occupies high places such as roofs and torii gates. They have blue or yellow skin, a massive mane of hair that dangles all over its body, and 4 legs with sharp claws that keep it in position. Despite this terrifying appearance, they are considered harmless except to people who are exceptionally evil. They are masters of disguise and are able to remain hidden until the penultimate moment of attack. They normally prey on birds around the areas that they are perched on, but if a wicked person passes by the gate that they are on, the otoroshi will leap down and rip that person to shreds, then devour them, leaving nothing behind. Nuribo-toke are a horrific ghost that crawls out of a family's altar that have had their doors left open after dark. They are small, impish-like creatures with ink-black skin, a foul smell, a catfish tail, and most disturbingly, eyes that dangle out of the sockets. Once out of the altar, they terrorize the family throughout the night by attacking them, making horrible noises, and frightening them with their ghastly appearance. They can be kept at bay by throwing salt on the floor in front of them, which they will refuse to cross. A family altar or shrine serves as a gateway between the world of the living and the world of the dead, and so leaving the door open between these two worlds is what allows certain things to crawl out of theirs and into ours. Nure-onna, or wet woman, are a yokai with the hideous face of a woman on the body of a massive serpent. Their faces give way to several reptilian features such as a forked tongue, and they have long black hair that is always soaking wet and sticks to their skin. For the most part, they are found along the coastlines of Kyushu, but their legend extends to further parts of Japan as well. They are vampiric and often eat humans, but do so in a way that maximizes the fear aspect. An encounter with a nure-onna would likely occur on a beach where you are approached by a woman who is soaking wet and carrying a baby. She will hand you the baby and then run off, and when you go to look at the infant, you will find that it has become a boulder that grows in size and prevents you from dropping it. After you are trapped beneath it, assuming you're not crushed to death, the nure-onna will return to suck the blood out of you, then you will be approached by an ushi-oni, another terrifying yokai that I will cover later, who will then devour you. Nurarihyon are a yokai that appears to be almost human, but his head is elongated like a gourd and his face resembles that of a catfish. He loves to dress in overly expensive attire, and it gives off the impression of a person who made their riches through shady dealings. His job is that he is actually the chief of all yokai, acting as a kind of leader to an otherwise lawless group of monsters, and is considered to be the one who leads the night parade of monsters. Or at least that's what people had believed for a time. Rather, it is now believed to be more of an elusive spirit who feigns its powers and success and cavorts through the red light districts. After they had enjoyed their night, they would depart for the home of someone they did not know and would take up residence there, drinking the real homeowner's tea and eating their food before departing. They had the ability to cause anyone who saw them doing this believe that the nurarihyon was the rightful owner until he left. That said, this yokai is most likely just a weird-looking old man who came to be seen as a yokai. Gango-g is a specific yokai to the gango-g temple of Nara. Its story goes like this. One day, a peasant saw a lightning strike near him and went to investigate. At the spot where the lightning had hit, there was a raijin that looked like a child. The peasant planned to kill the lightning god, but the raijin begged for his life and offered to bless him with a child that would be incredibly strong like the raijin himself. And the peasant agreed and helped build a boat to take the raijin back to heaven. Soon after, the man's wife gave birth to a child that had enormous strength, but on its head was a ring of snakes and a tail that came out of its back. Despite his abnormal appearance, by the age of 10 the boy was renowned for his strength, and so he challenged a prince known for being incredibly strong into a contest of strength. The boy came out victorious and was given as an apprentice to the gango-g temple. Soon after his arrival at the temple, however, young apprentices began dying one after another, night after night, with their corpses being placed in front of the temple's bell tower. The peasant's son decided to take action and put an end to it. He devised a trap by putting covered lanterns at the four corners of the temple's bell tower and had a monk wait for his signal to uncover them. The boy then waited beside the tower through the night. Near midnight, a hunchback creature appeared but deduced that this was an obvious trap and so waited in the shadows for a chance to strike. However, as the hours dragged on, the creature's hunger grew until it frantically attacked the peasant's son. The boy grabbed hold of the creature with his strength and yelled for the monks to start opening the lanterns, but the monks were too frightened and ran away. So the peasant's son grappled tight to the creature and dragged it to each lantern, opening the lights one after another. With each light, the monster reeled backwards until the final light, which revealed it to be a reikei, a demonic Oni's ghost. In a desperate attempt to escape, the creature lurched itself so hard that it ripped its own scalp off, but managed to be free of the boy's grasp. It fled into the dark, leaving the top of its head in the boy's hands. The next morning, the boy and the monks followed the trail of blood, which led to the grave of a former servant of the temple who was horribly lazy and incredibly wicked. After this, the creature was never seen again, and the boy became renowned even more, eventually even being deified at the temple. O-uni is a mysterious yokai with the disfigured demonic face of a hag, wearing a smile as though she has had her mouth ripped from ear to ear. Its body is covered in kelp like strands of hair that are laced with peat. Despite this monstrous appearance, o-uni are sometimes helpful to humans. They prefer to keep to themselves, but if they encounter a person, they will ask them to give them a place to stay for the night. If the person agrees and lets the o-uni in and feeds her, by morning the creature will have vanished, and in its place will be a mountain of valuable spun thread that can be sold. This makes running into an old monster woman in the mountain a genuine coin flip, as to whether you will profit from being kind or die. Aobozu, or Blue Priest, is just that, a priest with blue skin. They are a common sight throughout Japan, something like a boogeyman character. Oftentimes they are depicted as being incredibly tall and having a singular eye in the middle of their head. They live in abandoned places and wheat fields and wait for eager explorers or curious children to wander into their territory, where they then kidnap them and presumably eat them. According to some accounts, they are actually shape-shifting weasels, and in others still, they can be summoned. Supposedly, if you spin under a certain pine tree 7 times while holding your breath, it will show up and reprimand you for disturbing the tree. They are also known to attack women at night, approaching them and telling them to hang themselves. If the woman refuses, the monk will let them go, but if the woman instead ignores the aobosu, it will attack her and hang her himself. Akashita, or Red Tongue, is a minor farming deity with a horrific appearance. They manifest in dark clouds which conceal most of their body, but what is seen is giant hairy claws, a bestial face, and a long red tongue, hence its name. They bring with them heavy rains to help irrigate rice paddies and stop them from drying up, while also monitoring farmers who would tamper with other people's irrigation systems. In feudal times, taxes on farmers were often paid for in rice, as well as rice being the staple of most farmers' livelihoods. So, to steal water from someone's rice field, which allows the rice to grow, was akin to stealing their entire livelihood and possibly their lives if the crop died because of it. The akashita would swoop down on devious farmers on days where the dark clouds hung low, grab them with their massive red tongue, and then swallow them whole. Nuppeppo are described as follows. There is a monster called the nuppeppo. It has no eyes or ears. End of description. Other descriptions add that this creature resembles an eyeless, earless head with flabby arms with hands without fingers and stumpy legs, all covered in sloshing, wrinkly skin. The creature wanders around alone in graveyards and abandoned temples, but was known on one occasion to somehow infiltrate a castle where guards attempted to capture it, only to find that despite its appearance, it was incredibly fast. Eventually, the castle lord, none other than Tokugawa Ieyasu, demanded the creature be removed, and so the capture turned into driving it out. The following day, the court pharmacist heard of this and lamented, claiming that the creature actually exists in China as well, where its meat is said to cure any disease and grant the consumer of it great power. Ushi-oni, or ox demons, are among some of the most famous yokai. They can have a number of appearances, ranging from a minotaur-like being in a kimono to their more classic appearance of an ox's head atop the body of a monstrous spider-like demon. They are powerful monsters capable of spewing toxic fumes from their mouths and placing curses on humans. They occupy the coastlines across much of western Japan, and each has its own hunting tactic. Some lay in wait in their lairs and wait for an unsuspecting person to wander by, then pounce out and drag them back to be eaten. Others actively hunt and stalk people along the coast, devouring them swiftly. Many work together with other yokai, such as the nure-onna, who will trap people so the ushi-oni can kill them. Then both will eat the person together. Finally, there are exceptionally evil ones who will lay claim to a village as their own, returning every so often to destroy crops, eat the townsfolk, and leave devastation in their wake. Most folktales around the ushi-oni are of this final kind. An ushi-oni would take up residence near a village and harass and kill any that it came across. A samurai or warrior from around the area would hear of this and decide to assist the townsfolk and track the ushi-oni to its lair. In most cases, they are able to slay the beast through the use of a single arrow. However, there is a legend of an old woman who heard someone crying for help, and so she went to investigate. She found an ushi-oni trapped in a massive bowl and decided to rescue it. In return, the ushi-oni lifted its previous curses and no longer harmed humans, indicating that they do have some sense of honor. Our final yokai is the uwan. The uwan is named for the sound that it makes, a deep guttural yell that sounds like uwan. This sound would often be heard coming from abandoned temples, and its unnatural sound would strike fear into the hearts of those who heard it. For the most part though, it's just that, a terrifying sound heard in places where life was once teeming, now abandoned. They were given the image that they have today after an artist decided to put a face to the noise, and an appropriately horrifying one at that. It appears as a humanoid creature with a repulsively large mouth with polished black teeth. It has sparse patches of hair across its body, and is often seen with its arms stretched upward in an attempt to frighten others. An uwan legend from Akita goes like this. A newlywed couple wanted to save their money, and so rented an old mansion to stay in. All was well until the night came and they heard horrible sounds like a man yelling, "Uwan." This happened all throughout the night. Soon after, their neighbors would ask why they always appeared so sleepy, and the couple would tell them about the mysterious sound. Rather than believe them, their neighbors thought that they were covering up for a different kind of nighttime activity, and embarrassed, the couple stopped talking about the sound. So, that was all of Toriyama Sekien's first book on the Night Parade, a congregation of yokai collected from all across Japan. Though, altogether we are only a little over halfway through the 100 demons that are meant to take part, so if you'd like me to tell you the rest, please let me know down in the comments. I'd like to give a huge shout out to yōkai.com for being the best website to get information on some of these super obscure critters, so if you could, send them all of my love. For now though, keep yourself safe out there. Peace.